at least Jason Kessler of jasonkessler.net came on to talk about this. But, I mean, what do you think's going to happen in a Democrat city when they've been caught with Homeland Security funding white supremacist groups to go out and clash with groups to create division? What is going to happen when they control the cops? I mean, I couldn't go to the inauguration. It took me 3 hours to get through. I had to finally run people over just to get in with the George Soros groups attacking me, calling me a racist, and beating women and children up in front of me. So what did he think was going to happen? Because now he can say, well, we don't apologize for our demonstration, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I get what the spokesman for Homeland Security for Trump, we're going to play coming up in the next segment, said, where there are a lot of diverse groups. I think half the people in the, you know, demonstration against pulling down Robert E. Lee were reporters covering it. The Hill got attacked. Millie Weaver got attacked. Gavin Wentz got attacked. We have footage of all this. But, again, you're walking into this narrative. You're giving them what they want. And quite frankly, I've just got to say, whether it's white supremacists or the black supremacists, I think it's all idiocy. But the media only covers the white nationalist. Hell, they got Tom Brokaw saying I lead the white nationalists when I don't. So clearly this is what the left wants to invoke. Why are people playing along with it? Let's talk to Jason Kessler. Jason, you set this up. You're in 10,000 newspapers today. And you're all over the news. They say that you basically planned all this. You're the guy behind it. What do you say for what's happened here?
Well, I would say that the media reports are completely inaccurate. They're crafting a narrative which has been a hit campaign on the alternative media, including the alt-right, and they're trying to do a hit on Donald Trump. They're trying to connect him to this act of
your Skype's breaking up. Let me just give you a second. It'll be a whole conspiracy by somebody that I cut you off. Just say it until it gets back. Undoubtedly, they're blaming Trump if it rains. They're blaming Trump if somebody falls a banana peel. I'm not denying that. I'm saying most of the time I study white nationalist groups going out. They're run by feds. Now, I'm not saying you're a fed, a big fat federal agent like I once told a Klan leader that was a federal agent, later came out. But I mean, what did you think was going to happen when you did this?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can.
When I decided to do this, you can hear me?
A little bit. Go ahead.
Hello? Okay, what I thought was going to happen is that we were going to be able to have a peaceful demonstration, because even if you're in a community where people do not agree with you, we're supposed to have First Amendment protections. I thought we would be able to go in support of this Robert E. Lee monument, which is a historical monument, and it's part of a trend of these politically correct neo-Marxists, globalists, who are taking down the statues of white historical figures all over the country. So whether it's Robert E. Lee in Charlottesville or these other Confederate monuments in New Orleans, they're going after Thomas Jefferson and the Founding Fathers because they say they were not good men because they owned slaves. And, you know, they took down the bust of the white founders of King's College in London because it was insensitive to ethnic minorities. We are in a serious bit of crisis right now.
Well, no, I mean, it's true that the globalists are like trying to attack whites and pull down history and are anti-white just to control the minority groups. And it is true that they're banning the name Lynch. They're saying you may be able to go to college if your name's Lynch. It's an Irish name, but it doesn't matter. They're testing to ban words. I get that. But what did you think was going to happen when you marched in there with all of this, with the Antifa and the police kettling you in? Yeah, we're not censoring what he's saying and doing. We're going to have to probably get him on his cell phone because I want to be able to hear this, but it's in and out with Jason Kessler. Jason, can you hear me? Put it back on screen, folks, can see he's talking. I can't hear him. Put him on hold because I want this guy to have a say, or they'll say I cut this off. This is driving me crazy. Skype's an incredible technology, but it's not, you know, it's not working completely yet. So let's see if we can just get him on a phone. Let's bring in Millie Weaver real quick if we can. Millie, again, it's crazy to watch this unfold. And it's crazy to see all this go on because they're penalizing this guy because he's saying 1/3 of the racist stuff that I disagree with against the Soros group. It's a total cutout to just make us fight with each other. So how does media say he caused all the violence when clearly Antifa was the ones attacking?
Well, you know, it's pretty obvious that the media is doing everything they can because they really want to create an extremist, right-wing, homegrown terrorist organization in order to justify censoring people. That's really what they want to do. That's what this is all about. I was suspicious from it from the beginning, and really and truly, I wasn't very interested in going to this event in Charlottesville, but I just knew in my heart that this was a setup, it was going to go down, and this was what they were going to try and do to justify censorship and to continue the censorship that we're even seeing now with YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and so on and so forth. This is what they're going to do. They're going to create a situation that gets out of hand, have the police stand down so that people then want to take justice into their own hands. And by no way am I saying that justice, you know, is plowing through people on the road or whatever, protesters, and killing them, because when people take justice in their own hands, it's not always just. And in this case, it absolutely wasn't.
And Millie, I agree with you. What do you think this forebodes? The globalists have been spending at least 8 years funding this race war scenario. Admittedly, it's been declassified. What does this bode then, what they're planning to do?
Well, I feel like it helps them in the sense that they can further try and get rid of free speech and freedom of protest. You have these leftist progressive groups right now saying that hate speech needs to be banned, hate speech groups need to be banned, and really and truly, it's a slippery slope because anyone can try to say something is hate speech. Now, this is the little analogy or metaphor I like to use. Imagine if you have progressives out there saying that, you know, all Christian statues should be banned because, you know, the Bible says that homosexuality is a sin, therefore it's hate speech to transgender and homosexual people. So if you had a group of African American demonstrators out there preventing them from removing a Martin Luther King statue because Martin Luther King was a conservative and he was Christian, would it be okay for Antifa to then come and violently attack them?
Exactly, because as you know, they've taken Martin Luther King down at, 3 universities saying he was an anti-tranny, which is just some disorganizing program by the CIA to break down society for population reduction. So Martin Luther King has to be taken down. I understand the reason you say you went and did the events, and you say whatever you want. I'm saying, what do you make of the police kettling the demonstrators, the right-wingers, the white nationalists, the reporters, and then letting Antifa attack? I mean, the whole thing clearly happened. Now they're blaming Trump, saying he didn't decry racism when he clearly did. I mean, can't you see the setup here?
Yeah, this was a coordinated setup on the alt-right and on Donald Trump. And I guess the right wing in general. This is a constitutional crisis that is not being talked about by the media. Essentially, we wanted to do a rally in Lee Park in support of this monument that these neo-Marxist liberals are trying to tear down. And we felt like it was an attack on white people because the vice mayor who was instigating this removal of the statue is a militant black who identifies with the Black Panthers, and he said that Thomas Jefferson was next, and he said a lot of things about my favorite thing about being down south is seeing the look on the faces of little white men when they have to look up to a black man. So a lot of people were offended, and the rally was not about racism. You know, were there racist elements? Perhaps. But most of the people who were there were trying to just stand up for themselves.
Well, Jason, I know this. I know this. They claim, like, I'm in the KKK with no evidence, and that Trump is and all this stuff. So clearly I know that's going on. All I know is that Hillary creates the term alt-right, which means anybody that opposes globalism, and then white nationalist groups, a mix of groups show up and do stuff, and then suddenly we're painted with the brush of these riots happening. I understand it's synthetic. I understand it's made up. What did you think you were marching into the middle of?
I thought we were going to do a free speech rally. I mean, of course, there were people who came prepared to defend themselves, but I thought we were going to go into the park. The police had led us to believe that they were going to escort our speakers to the event, first of all. They didn't do that. They didn't show up at 8:30 in the morning when they were supposed to. When we arrived at the event, there were barricades blocking off the entranceways. The cops would not tell us where we could enter into. So we had to walk through a mob. There was a mob of Antifa and Black Lives Matter waiting for us.
Oh, it was clearly all set up, just like Democrats did in D.C., claiming that everyone that came to hear Trump's inauguration was KKK. And they attacked everyone that tried to get in and then said no one could make it in, so no one was there to hear Trump. So this is the same old deal. So I'm asking, why did you walk into their trap?
I thought that we had beaten them because I thought that their move was that they were going to shut down our event through a legal means, right? They tried to cancel our permit. We took them to federal court and sued them because they were discriminating against the content of our speech. And the federal judge found that that was the case. So I thought that we had that resolved. We had our guys ready to go and defend themselves. We had guys we thought were just going to stand in the park and be able to block the Antifa or whomever from coming into the park because we thought we were going to have police assistance. We thought that they were going to help us remove the bad elements and, keep the counter demonstrators in an area where they could exercise their First Amendment rights and we could.
Sure, but they orchestrated a clash. The Democratic mayor, we understand. Okay, so that's clear. All I'm asking you is, I believe in ideology, not what color somebody is. I want to try to bring people together around free market, open society, people working together. The globalists are pushing their own race narrative, but just because they're pushing their own race narrative and then acting like everybody else is racist, I get people then kind of identifying with their own group to resist that, but that's the trap. I mean, where do you think this is going now? Because they're only going to use this for more division. Clearly, they staged it. They prepared it, they did it, but then, how do you extricate yourself from that? Because I see you in the news saying you're glad you had your rally, blah, 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 the police stood down. That's true. We saw the video. It's just that, how do you then now, what do you say to George Soros? Because, it was his birthday yesterday. They suckered you guys in. I mean, what are you going to do now?
Well, I'm going to sue the city of Charlottesville. They have to pay a heavy price for what they've done. They put people in danger and lives were lost because of their inaction. They hated the content of our speech so much that they were willing to create anarchy to get their way.
Well, we have the footage. We have the footage, Billy Weaver and Gavin Winscott, that shows the police laughing as they're pepper sprayed and shows them saying, we've been ordered to stand down. That's on Infowars.com. Yeah. So I don't want to just bash cops, but man, I mean, this mayor, you want to don't blame even the communists or blame the white nationalists or blame the reporters that were there or the regular folks just to cover it. I mean, or the Hill reporters that were there to cover it. They're calling KKK or whatever now, even though they worship Antifa and George Soros, which is a message to everybody. What do you make of the police and the government getting away with this?
Well, they haven't gotten away with it yet. It's been just a short period of time since this has happened, and I intend to continue litigating them in court. The federal judge has already found they discriminate against the content of the speech, and I think that we can find that they refused to protect our rally and led us to believe that they were going to protect the rally and keep everybody safe, and then didn't do that. So potentially this could be a multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
I just know this even here in Austin. I mean, in other areas, they let people shoot cops. And the cops will sit there and get shot following orders. They worship communism. They worship Antifa. They're intimidated by it because they know the media is behind it. MSM is a joke. When the police and the government, everybody realize we're all being played off against each other, all I'm saying is people can hate each other for what color they are all day long. But don't folks understand there's a larger group manipulating those differences? That's what I'm trying to say to you right now, Jason Kessler. You say you're not a white supremacist or white nationalist, but I mean, I'm not saying I'm a brainiac, but I see inherent manipulation and being a puppet playing into this race game. What do you say to that?
No, I think that being a white identitarian in 2017 is a defensive posture, right? Because we do see the left playing these race games, and they've been doing it for decades and decades. And then
I'll say 90% of the race baiting's by the left. 90% is the left. I mean, that's true. So I'm just saying they can't demonize you if they're the biggest racists out there.
But what I'm saying is that not only that, but we have allowed them to continually erode the rights of white people. They have groups that are specifically for identity groups like Muslims with CARE or NAACP with blacks, and it makes it so you have these policies that are replacing us with massive. All right,
I want to let you finish up and let Millie Weaver and Gavin Wentz have some questions. I know this. I got soul. We're being played. Do people have beef? People have problems with each other? Did folks get screwed over here or there? Absolutely. But it's being manipulated by the social engineers. So I get disgusted by the white supremacists, the black supremacists, and all the rest of it. But then if I was getting down at their level on the street, I understand where it's coming from. If I got thrown in San Quentin, they got the black area, the white area, the Hispanic area, the Asian area. And if you don't go be part of that area, you're going to get killed. Or wish you were dead. And the warden manages the whole thing that way. And that's where we're going, divide and conquer. I want to just say the stellas are bright. The stars are bright. We can all see the heavens at night. We can all have a bigger vision of actually what we stand for instead of being tribal. But in a decadent, dumbed-down world, that's not being turned around. But you can pick a side all day long. But the side that manipulated this is the deep state that's trying to create all the race war, that covers up all the racial attacks on white people and vice versa, to just continue to build this division and this class war, not between the general public calling for a better system based on free market, but a class war the government can control and then order society according to that, because we're too busy fighting with each other about what color we are versus the type of government we actually have. So we are joined by Jason Kessler, who all I know him by is what the news says. White nationalist, organized this. You know, he's out there, blah, blah, blah. Then I hear what he says. He just says, oh, I'm just tired of whites being bashed all day, and they can have all the, you know, black entertainment television, and we can have a group saying, you know, whites have rights. And, you know, I see that. But the larger issue is, do you not see what you're walking into? And so I've got Gavin Wentz, our great camera guy, and also Millie Weaver here. If you guys have any questions or comments, but I want you to be able to finish your statements that you were making Jason Kessler when we went to break. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that it's not just about, being a white identitarian in 2017 is a defensive position, and it's not just about people talking bad to us or whatever. They are enacting policies which are tantamount to ethnic cleansing of white people. So if you believe that every people on the planet has a right to exist, then you have to be able to support white identity politics, because whether white people try and have the moral high ground or not about identity politics, there are still going to be groups like Muslims have CARE, the NAACP, and these are powerful political weapons. And what they're being
So what you're saying is the political system is organizing people into groups while telling whites you're not allowed to ever organize into a group.
Yeah, so you're not going to be able to maintain any kind of equilibrium within, like, I don't believe that the United States should be all white. What I believe is that it should be the traditional demographics of the country prior to 1965. Just like I believe that Europe should be mostly white too, and I believe that Japan should be mostly Japanese. And,
but the major universities say white is inherently evil and must be exterminated. That is official U.S. government policy now. But you're being a racist saying all whites should not be killed.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to do is make sure that every race on the planet is able to survive. But there's only
sure.
one
But
race.
expanding on that, but no, I mean, I get the fact that there's a double cross of Christian conservatism and the Civil Rights Act, and the left is now engaged in race politics. What I'm saying is, if we engage in the race politic, it feeds into that whole system instead of transcending it and exposing it, because a very evil group replacing us with computers and robots and globalism is admittedly sabotaging the family and the sexes, and in CIA declassified documents admitting it's a plan to end humanity as we know it. Isn't that the message, to unify humans together against the psychopathic globalists, their technocracy?
Well, it's not just race. As you say, there's also a gender issue. The traditional families have been torn apart by feminism, and that is...
but I'm saying it's AI, scientific, human exterminism by the elites who already are listening to AI and believing they're going to merge with it. I mean, that's why Elon Musk is being honest and saying the big threat isn't North Korea or race war, it's the computers. Let me bring in Gavin Wentz.
We have to pick up our own torch to carry for a certain issue. If you're fighting for the traditional families, do that, but somebody has to stand up for white people, and you face such enormous hatred for standing
But the
up for
universities,
white
I
people.
mean, it's true, do teach that white people are inherently bad. That is a great racism. How do folks expect there not to be a response to that? I get it. I'm saying the manipulation is to create the clash, so we're all fighting with each other when we're just humans, while the globalist engineers come in. But I want to bring in Gavin Wentz, cameraman, pepper sprayed, attacked. Videos are on Infowars.com with the reporter, Millie Weaver. You have any questions or comments for the organizer of the event you went to cover that you got attacked for being there?
Well, one thing I would like to mention is that part of the reason why I made the false flag reminder Oklahoma City bombing video is to remind all of us that they've been trying to push this white nationalist terrorist meme for a very long time. And, you know, with Donald Trump as president and stuff now, we need to make sure that we don't slip into exactly what they want us to, what they've wanted us to do.
Exactly. If they've tailored a suit for us, let's not wear it.
That's exactly it. And I hear what Kessler's saying, but the problem is, by doing some of these activities, we're literally, like you're saying, wearing a pre-created uniform so that we can look exactly how they want us to look as part of their agenda, rather than us transcending the whole thing and looking the way we want to look through our own free
But I mean,
will.
how do you transcend this, Kessler?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming out and covering the rally, and I'm sorry you got attacked at my rally. I promise you I did everything within my power to make sure everybody was safe at the rally. The police just stood down. So I do believe that what was your question? Sorry.
What were you asking, Gavin?
Well, I really didn't ask him anything. I can say that I was targeted because I was starting to scratch at the surface as to why and how the Black Lives Matter group and Antifa were there. And as soon as I started getting some intel about them being Ford Foundation and George Soros people, that's when I got attacked. And if you go back and watch
I remember the
video,
point you were making. You were making the point about playing into the narratives of where the national media and the deep state is trying to push the white nationalist terrorist meme or whatever. So first of all, like, there's a distinction between where I'm at and where some other people at. There are some young men out there who are so tired of being called racist, Nazi, whatever, that they just dive into it headlong, and they're like,
But no, I get it. You're calling me a Nazi, so I'm going to be a Nazi.
Yeah, I know that doesn't look good. That's not what I'm trying to do, although there were people out there like that. But one thing I've learned about crowd dynamics is if you invite people out to an event, you are going to be judged by the worst elements of it.
No, that's how it works. All right. Thank you for joining us. If you want to come back on tomorrow or in the weekday show, Jason Kessler, to have a longer time to put out your ideas, I would have the Antifa on. I would have George Soros on if they did. They won't do it. But I appreciate you coming on and spending time with us. JasonKessler.net. We'll obviously talk to you in the near future.
Sure, sounds good.
We're going to go to break. I'm going to talk to both of you on the other side and let you really flesh this out and play some videos and play the head of Homeland Security spokesperson for Trump's statement that I totally agree with when we come back. But the point is, I can see the artificiality of it. I know it's an AI brainwashing algorithm. They admitted it. So it's like they're bringing in computers. They're getting rid of us. We're all eating GMO. We're all together being attacked. Where's the solidarity of humans together against the globalists and this technocracy? I get there's real racial stuff going on. You can be pissed all day about that, but why not transcend it and like short circuit the whole deal? But they'll call me a schmuck. I mean, I've had the globalists tell me that, oh, the public's not smart enough, Alex, you ought to just join us. Well, you know what? I'm not going to join them because they're so psychotic and evil. I'm going to try to sit here and really show folks what's happening versus the hype.